thank you for giving them the opportunity, short thought it may have been, to play the part in the lives of their students and new graduates. We are grateful for your guidance and love as they shared in this important work. Please bless and guide our graduates as they reach this end and as they chart new beginnings. May what we have learned by being here allow them to truly be women and men for others. Please help us use all that we have learned here to make the world a better place, to serve others in true solidarity and kinship, to seek ways to help the poor, the marginalized, and those who are suffering, and to always seek the greater good. We know that some of us will experience pain and hardship, and we know that some already have, and we ask you to grant them solace and strength. Finally, Father, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to build our community with these young men and women while they are here. Though we are leaving the school, we know that we will always be part of the Gothenburg family, and we ask that the bonds that have been created here remain strong despite any distance. We ask all of this in your name, and in your name, in the name of your Son. Amen.
Now, typically, I kind of set this up like a funeral service that I do. I didn't really mean it that way. But typically at this time, we would maybe have a song or something like that. If somebody would like to sing, okay, we're not going to do that. So I want to talk to you. Let me give you kind of what I'm thinking today. This is actually, it's hard for me to believe. I am 53. Which means if you do math well, this will be my 35th class reunion. If I were actually to go and I talk to those people anymore. But for me, that time has really flown. We've been in Gothenburg now for 22 years. And that's just incredible. And for me to think back on how things have changed. When I was in school, we didn't have remotes for televisions. We did, it was me, and my dad told me what channel to turn it to. We had a thing called Atari that had just come out. We had Pong, which was great. All of our phones had cords. Cell phones, the internet, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, all of that hadn't been invented yet. And when I went to college, we did a thing, because I couldn't afford to call long distance. You guys don't know what long distance probably is. But we did this thing called collect calls. Thank you for nodding occasionally with me back there. And collect calls would be that you would put the charge back on your folks. But it was kind of expensive to do collect calls, so you would have codes. And so what I would do is I would set up a collect call, and I would call my mom, and they would say, "What's your name?" And so then we had to have codes because it was expensive. So I would say, "Scott, I'm fine." And then they would then know to call me back regular long distance, and everything was okay eventually. That's the world we lived in then. It was really different. That's what I want to talk about a little bit, is communication. There's a lot of noise out there today. And a lot of the noise comes from within. But with technology, there's just so much noise. But we still have to eventually, after being in with our technology and doing things, we have to return to reality. And sometimes when we do that, and sometimes when we return to reality, there's still something going on in our heads. Right? In sales, we called it head trash. A lot of head trash. It wasn't a beatbox, but it was a chatterbox that was going all the time. A lot of the chatter you hear is not good. I'm not smart enough. I'm not experienced enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong. I'm not loved. I'm not rich. I'm not organized. Maybe I'm not awesome. I'm not pretty. I'm not tall. We've all been there. We've all heard that head trash. We've all heard those things that go on. And maybe you hear it right now. Maybe as you begin your journey and you start thinking about your journey, you're hearing some of that right now. That part of that chatter we hear in our head and our heart, that sentiment which tells us that we're not whatever enough. We all go through it. We all question. We all wonder, does anyone really care? What difference have I really made? Why am I stressing over this? Does it matter? What does it matter to me? We always do this. You may say things like I'm just screwing things up. I'm a mess. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. Then you think the next step is, what does God think of me? Maybe God doesn't think of me at all. Maybe God's disappointed in me of something that I've done. Maybe I'm worthless. Maybe I'm hopeless. And then you can continue that just a little bit with, if God really loved me, he wouldn't allow this to happen. If God really loved me, he would pay for the books in college. If God really loved me, he would figure out a way to get me out of the problems that I've been. If things are going to change in my life, it would have already happened. God's not listening to me. God doesn't care about me. Why should God pay attention to me? You see, we all get hung up on so many different things in life, and when we do, we lose our focus. We lose our bearings. We get lost. I mean, really lost. I remember once I was snorkeling. I'd gone snorkeling. If you've never snorkeled before, it's like going into a whole lot of water with a straw that sometimes tries to drown you. I was snorkeling once in the Pacific Ocean, of all places. First of all, I should mention that I really don't know how to swim, which was, I think, a really important cogent point that I maybe should have paid attention to before getting into a large body of water. So I was snorkeling, and eventually I worked my way out past a pier. It's kind of a jetty. And I came back up, and I looked out, and had turned myself around, and I looked out, and all there was the Pacific Ocean. Next stop, Japan, is my thought. I was really lost, and just for a moment, but it was really scary. That's what I'm talking about. Not just a little lost, not just, your GPS told you to turn here and, it wasn't the right turn. This is really lost. When you're really uncertain. When there's just it's just too easy to get down on ourselves. That kind of lost. It's easy to tell ourselves we're no good. We hear all of the lies and we remind ourselves of all of the bad things about ourselves. It's all of that chatter that we hear, and ultimately we start to believe. And what that does is it sucks the life out of us. Add to that our obsession with social media. We worry about how many likes maybe that we have. How many likes did I get on my tweet or my Instagram post? And again, really, and I think most of you would agree with this, who cares? Who really cares? But sometimes we do. Sometimes we obsess a little bit about it. Why am I not liked better? Why was this post not better? We want people to like a post that we put in, a picture that we put in. But why does that determine our self-worth? I'm going to give you a Bible verse that I really like. This is John 10:10. Jesus said, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." There's a couple things I want you guys to understand, and I don't know how much you've gone to church. how much that's been a part of your life. There's a couple things that I want you to know. I want you to understand that the first one isn't so good. And that's that there is evil out there. Some of you are going to go to places that are much different than you've ever been before in your life. You're going to see things that you haven't seen before, and it's going to be maybe difficult. There is evil out there. I don't want to make it a doom and gloom message. That's not the point, and we're going to end positively. But I want you to understand that there's forces out there. And we've already talked about one, and that's in our heads. Things that want to steal our heart and kill our spirit, destroy our sense of worth. And that's bad. But what I want, this is the second part of this that I really want to tell you, is that Jesus juxtaposes that. He says that I came that you may have life and have it abundantly. Literally, the word abundantly is really a poor translation, but in reality, we are told we will have life beyond what is anticipated, more than abundantly, exceeding expectations. That we'll have that. That's what Jesus offers us. It's not going to be always easy. There's going to be voices in the background telling you bad things about yourself. Maybe your heart, maybe your head saying these things, but they could be there. So when you hear that stuff, when things really have you down, when you are scared and disappointed, when you have a final coming up and you're not ready, when you have a paper due and it's not going to happen, remember this. Remember that in the darkness, we have to tell ourselves to stop. And to realize that the enemy doesn't have any power over us, whatever that might be, other than the power we're willing to give him. When we stop listening to the chatterbox, when we stop listening to the head trash, when we start listening to God's promise, we experience hope, power, and strength, and the courage to go forward. Colossians 3 says, Paul refers to us as God's chosen one, holy and dearly loved. That's pretty powerful. You think about that. I mean, I don't know you guys that well. I don't think I'm willing probably to die for most of you. Sorry. But Jesus did. Jesus died for all of us. Even though Jesus knew every secret, every fault, every blemish, everything we've ever did, it didn't matter. Because you are holy and dearly loved. You are a child of God. So you can do it. There's nothing in the world that you can't do. Paul said you can do more than you ever imagined you could. Some of you growing up in Awana or Bible study or Bible school, whatever, know Joshua 1:9. You know, Joshua had been thrown into power. He was young. And all of a sudden, Moses dies, and God says to Joshua, you're taking over. Now, think about just a second what Moses had tried to do. Moses tried to lead all the people that had escaped Egypt, the Israelites, into the promised land. And they didn't want to go. They were tired. They'd been wandering around for 40 years. They were sick and tired. They were rebelling. They were complaining. And God says to Joshua, you got to lead this group of stubborn people. You got to lead them to the promised land. Joshua had to be nervous and anxious and uncertain. That's why in the very first chapter of Joshua in 1:9, God reminded him 3 times of a promise. And finally, God tells Joshua again, I have commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid and do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. There's power in that. God's command to you is this: be strong and courageous, because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. When I talk to people in churches and stuff like that, one of the difficult things that people do, one of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially people a lot older than you, is that they want to do it all themselves. They think they can do it all themselves. They don't need any help. I can do it. I can take care of this problem. Yes, we're in a lot of debt. Yes, I have a heart condition. Yet, whatever. I can take care of it. I got it. Because that's who Nebraskans are. They're pull themselves up by their own bootstraps sort of folks. Sometimes we just can't. And that's okay, because God says you don't have to. So when you guys experience what you're going to experience in the next few years, and the new stuff that goes on, you don't have to do it alone. But you have to ask for help. That's great news. Don't be afraid. Don't be dismayed, because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you have the Lord with you. And a bunch of heavenly armies right by his side. And if God is with you, then nothing, absolutely nothing, can defeat you. Now, there will be tough times. It's like Gavin said in the prayer, there's going to be tough times. Some of you have already had them. But you can get through it. And that's what we're here to tell you. So you have the ability to shut off that head trash, that chatterbox. You can crash it. The things that you can do it. Try again. Don't give up. Keep going. You're almost there. Trust in me with all your heart. Lean on me. I've carried you before, and I'll do it again. And finally, the promise that's the greatest promise of all, that he will never abandon you. We started this service with a little bit of Latin that I probably butchered. But we ended with another Latin word. It's called desiderata. And what desiderata means is things desired. And I wanted to read this in closing to you, and I made some copies of it. If you've heard it, has anybody heard of the desiderata before? Thank you, Jim. It's great. It's really, really cool. And so please, before you leave, or anybody can have one, take it with you if you'd like. I made a few copies, but I want you to listen to this. And maybe this will help. It's kind of a nice little operating manual for being an adult. This is the desiderata. Go placidly among the noise and the haste, and remember that peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even to the dull and the ignorant, they too have their stories. Here's a big one today. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter. For always there will be greater and lesser persons than you. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. Let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially, do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrender the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself on dark images. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God. Whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, with all its drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Maddox?
All right. Say a final prayer here. Let us unite our hearts in prayer and entrust to the hands of the Lord those who will soon graduate. May God, who began this good work in us, carry it through to completion, enabling us to use our talents to the fullest. May God give us the grace to make wise choices and to be faithful to your commitments, always confident in the support of those who love us. May God bless us with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that we will live deep within your heart. May God bless us with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that we will work for justice, equality, and peace. May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war, so that we will reach out to your hand to comfort them and change their pain into joy. May God bless us with the foolishness to think that we can make a difference in the world, so that we will do things which others tell us cannot be done. May our integrity be a gift to the world, and may the Spirit of God be with us always. Amen. Thanks for coming, everybody. Grab a paper on your way out. Good luck. We love you all.
Thanks, guys.